Yo, it is Monday, April 2nd. April, the beginning of a new quarter. Boy, it's fresh and squeaky clean, full of opportunity. Today, we're talking about big movers at the top of the pile and a new NFT sneaker collection. That's right.
Everywhere I go, the people really want to know who I is and who I be. They stop and
gotta let it sink in this morning. The beginning of a fresh quarter. Gotta get the bounce set.
Wait a second. Wait. A quarter, Paul?
Yeah.
He got him. He got the days right, though. He got the days right.
Look, I can't focus on everything, Kyle. I got the date right. I got the day right. I got the beginning of something new right.
It's the beginning of the month. It's so good. It's so you're right. You're like this close. I get it. It's Monday. We're gonna make it.
Maybe it's because the weather finally feels like spring in Syracuse.
Yeah, so you're like everybody in Syracuse is actually just a month behind everyone else.
Actually, it's May. I didn't know it was May. There's a lot moving right now.
Yeah,
a lot moving. And today we're going to talk about some things moving and shifting around at the top of the pile. You know what? In all fairness, Kyle.
In all fairness.
As I'm preparing the show today, most of the stuff we're talking about is quarter one reports.
Yes. Fair. All the Q1 reports came out late last week. So
we're talking about
Q1.
The new quarter and the oh man, whatever.
Oh, it's all good. Hey, look, Paul, I just want to say real quick, I had the opportunity. I want to just before we get into the news stories yesterday, one of my big passions in life is soccer. And I had the opportunity yesterday to go to Nashville SC. That's my hometown. Their brand spanking new stadium, Geodis Park. It was unbelievable. But here's what I want to key in on this morning is that since 2014, I've been a part of this community group called a supporters group called the Roadies. And I had a part in starting it, actually created a C3 with a couple other guys around this community and then was on the board of directors for 7 years. And what I find really interesting about communities like that is the way that they kind of rally around many different things, right? And so yesterday, it was so encouraging to me because I've actually rolled off of the board of directors of this thing. But yesterday, this community that used to just drink beer and sing songs and hang out in a parking lot has grown to over 700 members. And now the things that they're doing is supporting youth soccer locally, supporting a ton of different youth events in the city. There literally people are giving donations over and over at a tailgate to support the community. And I love that when you build community, that community starts to feel like something that can have a greater impact. And I was just reminded about the automotive community. I was spending some time with my buddy Justin, who I met when I was working at Nelson Auto Group, and he's a service manager. And just this reality that automotive has that same capacity to create community, build community, and then because of that community, whether that be your store, your internal community, or your external community, you actually have this greater capacity for impact in the places that you live and work. So,
and
yeah.
You still get to drink beer and sing songs in the parking lot.
There it is. And yell at the top of your lungs and lose half your voice and all that crazy stuff.
Well, see, that's the beautiful thing about community, right? You can do all of those things. That's what's tough when people just kind of write checks and look, we serve the community. It's giving money to the community and really knowing the problems and being involved in the solutions are two very different things. I know which ones I want in my corner. And I can't wait to go to a game at this place. I've never been to a pro soccer game. I've never been to anything more than probably like a friend's, like middle school soccer game. No, high school. I saw a few like higher level high school games, and I actually had a lot of fun. I'm the kind of guy, I'm going to show up, and Nashville SC is going to be my team, right? I'm going to lose my voice. I'm going to go bonkers. I'm going to be wearing yellow just by association.
That's exactly what's good. You're gonna buy all the merch. They got the most amazing merch. They do a print for every match. It's a hat show print. It's a very like national. Like think about that from a branding. Oh, I'm gonna just get off on brand this morning. But from a branding perspective, they literally do a match poster that's done by one of the local print shops here called Hat Show Print. That like if
Just
you know Nashville artists and things like that, it's a very Nashville type thing. And it's just everyone wants it. People buy. I mean, they ran out so quickly yesterday. They're collectible. They're merch, and it's like, yep. It's what they really should do. They should turn them into NFTs.
That's all I can think about. I thought about that last year. I'm like, wait, every per game, especially for fanatical base, get to prove you were at the game when whatever happened. Yeah. We'll get back to that because I guarantee that's going to happen. And when it happens, we'll be like, we told you so. A couple things we want to talk about. The Automotive State of the Union. Speaking of community, I'm not going to do a segue. Family reunion, remix. It's a party. It's informational. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to have a retail swag shop 1 week from today. We are 1 week away in Tampa on May 9th, evening of May 9th. We're having the Asotu Family Reunion remix. Get your tickets now. We still have some left. Go to asotu.com and get a ticket now. If you're a dealer, you get in free thanks to our friends at AutoFi. They paid for all the dealer tickets, but you still need a ticket. You still need a ticket because
you gotta have a ticket
when it sells out. Even if you're a dealer, I'm sorry, but you can't come in. But you can't say we didn't tell you so. So if you have friends that are dealers or friends that are industry partners, want to go, share this with them and make sure they get their tickets now because we're probably going to lose our voices a little bit and have a lot of fun and learn a little bit.
No doubt.
In the process. Hey, this podcast, if you listen to the audio version of the podcast, we had a record month last month. We jumped almost 25% in listenership last month. We launched a Saturday episode for the first time this week. I think we're going to keep doing it, and got a 60-second end of month Saturday close words of wisdom from Byron Benstock. So if you don't listen to the audio version, go to Spotify or iTunes, check out the Automotive Troublemaker, and you can go hear Saturdays because it's audio only.
Yeah. All right. It's 2 minutes of the best of just the best encouragement. So go check it out. You should.
I love it. We finish when we're done, Kyle. We finish when we're done.
Ooh,
let's talk a little news. Let's talk about a little news. So there's been a lot of movement in the top 5 spots in retail automotive, especially when it comes to new cars, especially when it comes to revenue. The news kind of out of Q1. So Lithia, who was number 2 in 2021, has now in Q1 of this year outperformed Autonation, who has been number 1 for a really long time, indicating maybe a potential change at the top of the pile.
I think it's going to be a continued changing of it's like the guard has changed, and we've been talking about the driveway strategy for a long time, and we're about to get into Steve Greenfield's Auto Intel report, but Brian DeBoer just said like pushing into this driveway mentality, over 1,100 employees nationwide. That strategy plus a really competent local strategy is enabling them to do, way more than you can imagine on simply a local strategy alone.
And if you don't know, Driveway is Lithia's kind of like standalone brand for used car retailing. So think of it like kind of what Carvana is trying to accomplish, but via Lithia,
better,
who is but connected to the community. Yeah, Carvana's in big trouble.
Well, and they have new cars, right? So I mean,
so it's like the holistic solution to transportation, and they're just executing it really well. They're acquiring a ton of stores over the last year, and so the numbers were they reported 64,942 units sold versus AutoNation's 56,442. Last year they just went on a total spree of acquisitions, and they're just set to do more of the same. Also, Asbury, who is currently number 5 in the 2021 list, is poised to overtake Penske, who's at number 3. So we have number 2 moving to number 1, and number 5 moving to number 3. And they just adjusted their 2025 revenue target. Get this. They were like, in 2025, we think we're going to be at 20 billion in revenue. They're like, no, scratch that. We actually think it's going to be 32 billion.
Okay, what's the theme here? The theme here is Lithia and Asbury 2 and 3 years ago made a conscious decision to make a nationwide play at branding. You've got driveway and click lane, right? And they've done a really good job, and the CMOs and the COOs in those organizations have understood that that is the play that having a national impact of local stores gives you. It is literally what Carvana is attempting to do by buying Odessa, naturally baked into the product.
Well, that's the difference.
And that's why they're winning.
And it's like, let's talk about it too. Like the branding play, right? That's where it begins in saying like, hey, like this is how people can understand what we're doing and come in and be a part of it. I remember when I got my first Amazon box that had driveway all over the outside of it. We've talked about it before. I was like, yo, this is like serious all of a sudden.
No doubt.
But really the reason it has staying power is because they've just built in solid execution at the ground level by not being too far from the consumer. Right? People still want to know and want the safety of stability, of brick and mortar, of knowing that actually I'm not getting this from 3,000 miles away. I'm actually just getting it from like somewhere I could drive to. So let's just go right into the next story. So the next story, because they really do tie together. Steve Greenfield releases his automotive intel report every month. We're big fans. Make sure you sign up at automotiveventures.com. It's linked up in the show notes. But he put a quote. He talked about Lithia quite a bit, and he put a quote from CEO Brian DeBoer. Says, in the first quarter, over 97% of driveway transactions were incremental with consumers we had never transacted with in the past 15 years.
Wow.
How's that for market share? 97% of the people are conquest. That blew my mind. I had to read that twice.
97%. That's crazy.
And get this, the average shipping distance is 920 miles. So they're still shipping the car from one place to another, almost 1,000 miles, but they're flooded with new customers. And they're at, here's the bow on it all. The average Google review was 4.6 stars, driven by our focus on building the business sustainably and earning consumer trust for the entire ownership life cycle.
Yes.
Like that's a mic drop moment if I ever seen one.
It's amazing. That's amazing. That's just so good. So good.
So it's really top to bottom, right? It's the branding. It's the understanding of what the market wants. It's the branding. It's the delivery and execution, building the trust, and that being proven on the tail end by the Google reviews, right?
Yep.
It's the whole cycle.
It's not Vroom.
I don't think that's their value proposition. Once you get to that value proposition, you're already in a bad spot, which is, I think a few years ago, what franchise automotive was like Carvana, when they jumped out, they were like, hey, it's just not that, right? It just doesn't suck. That was their value proposition. Very low bar. We're seeing how that story
that's working out for them,
plays out right now. And, retail automotive has more opportunity than ever to the pendulum has swung. And now that there are these other examples, there's a lot of opportunity to take it back. I've actually dealt with more savvy dealer groups building independent brands for used cars in the last 2 or 3 years than ever before. I mean, it's kind of the common call we get now.
Yeah. Or at minimum, exercising their their global brand, their regional brand as more of a brand,
umbrella brand.
As an umbrella brand, right? You've got groups that are saying, hey, our group website or our group brand is actually more valuable than the franchise websites, which has the staying power. So
not only the staying power, but think about it, like the level of control, right? So manufacturers are shifting everywhere, right? We don't know where it's going to land. We don't know what EV is going to do. And that really varies from franchise to franchise. So for a dealer to recognize, like we have this group, let's brand level, let's develop that brand level. And then under that comes a lot of freedom. It comes freedom to control your content and your messaging. It also allows you to control your tech.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. There's so much control that you get at that. Yeah, I know. It's just, we could talk for hours about it.
We will, just not here.
Sure. Yeah.
And we will certainly, but just not here. So all of that saying, and also in the Intel report, we'll try to get Steve on this week and see if we can talk about it a little bit. I know he's traveling all over with the dealer fund right now, but he did say 2021 is the most profitable year ever. We already knew this. He said 2022 is tracking 15 to 35% better. That's the first time I've ever heard it quantified.
Wow, that's crazy. You know what? The one thing that I want to highlight in his Intel report, I don't know if Isaac has this image, I shared it, but what was really interesting is he kind of took it a largest monthly mover from April, and looking at Penske, Autonation, and CDK all having massive dollar amount and percent changes. Asbury, Autonation, all massive changes. And then listen to the companies that saw decreases last month. Tesla, Rivian, Volkswagen, who are massive EV providers, Carvana, Arrival, and Faraday Future. So everyone in the mobility or online retailer space saw the massive decreases. So really an interesting kind of dichotomy. So I think the question for me here is are they the leading indicators of what is potentially to come for the retail side? Or does retail have kind of this, I keep using this word, staying power? Does retail have the ability to stay in the game longer because of the way they're set up from an expense structure, from an advertising structure, and from a people management structure? So, well, that's yet to be determined, but I think it's a question mark in everyone's mind.
For sure. All right, we're going to do one last fun one today. So we covered this story when it first happened, when Nike, we're talking about Nike, talking about retail, talking about company culture, right? So we're zooming out from automotive for a second, saying, let's look at what's going on everywhere else. And Nike bought an NFT sneaker company named Artifact. It's actually pronounced Artifact, but it's what is it? RTFKT.
They took out all the
no, they went beyond that. They put an R in the beginning, right? It's like, so it's like you know, like the phenome pronunciation. It's RTFKT, pronounced Artifact. They purchased this NFT company that makes NFT sneakers and had some great collabs and some momentum. Nike's like, great, we're going to buy that. They don't know how much they paid for it, but either way, they bought this and they said, this is the future. And they just released their first Nike Dunk Genesis Cryptokicks. They just dropped them. And for the life of me, I still can't figure out exactly how you could acquire them, because it wasn't like you can buy them. It had to do with being a part of this other community. And then you got this kind of like cube that you didn't know it was inside of it. And then I know, and I can't get it. And I'm paying attention to this stuff. I was like, how the heck did you even? The bottom line is this. It's like you think it's a sneaker, right? And it looks kind of familiar. It looks like a Nike shoe, and you can have it as a collectible, but also when you're in some metaverse worlds now, you sync it up with your cryptocurrency wallet, like where the NFT is held and stored. And then all of a sudden you're wearing them in the metaverse, right? So you actually kind of have them on. And people are saying you may actually get a real version at some point.
That's what they have to do. You have to pull it back into reality.
Tie them together.
You have to tie it, I think.
I don't think they have to, but I mean, geez,
it would be a letdown.
It's so iconic,
in my opinion. Yeah,
it's so iconic. Yeah, I can't see them not doing it. So it was basically inspired by one of Nike's, you know, the iconic Dunk Low. You'd recognize it if you saw it. And in order to unlock these, you had to go through some tasks. Either way, you get like the core shoe, and then there's something called a skin vial, right? So sounds a little weird, but a skin is really like, just think of a covering or a coating. So like you put a skin on a vehicle, and it's like a vehicle wrap. So it's like a wrap for an NFT, and they make it look a lot different. And the rarity of the skin vial and like what it makes the shoe look like really drive the price in NFTs. Rarity often drives it. One of them sold for $449,000.
I personally just don't understand. Good on them. I saw that like mining fees for these things were upwards of $6,000 to ETH. Yeah. It was just unbelievable. Yeah. So like think about being the broker, which is the guy who's like actually typing in the transaction, that knows how to code all that stuff.
I'm trying to think why mining would be so expensive.
Yeah.
Dang.
It's nuts. It's ridiculous.
So either way, man, people are playing in a space where there's all this value changing hands, and maybe you don't understand it. We don't even fully understand it, but understand this, that there are a lot of people paying attention to it. The younger generation is native to this, right? They're the newest to it. And we joke about it all the time. It's like, what do you need to be an expert at NFTs? And we're like, I don't know, about a 90-day head start on the next person.
Yeah. And
right?
like a couple years in World of Warcraft, and you got it.
I never had that, so I guess I was at a disadvantage. But all that to say that the temperature is changing, the environment is changing, retail is changing, but guess what? We can keep up. Not only can we keep up, but we can be in front, obviously being shown that like being behind doesn't mean you're not going to end up in front. So whatever it is on this Monday, lean into it, pay attention, learn a little something, and be in front.